it feels really good to announce it, is a $35,000 arts education grant that will enable us to offer a pay what you can afford program.
Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of the TF Cast. I'm Willis.
Hey, we got Grum here in the solarium. It's January 31st.
And I'm your host, Jacob Bases. Today with us, we have Tyler Vaughan on behalf of the Makerspace here in Mankato, Minnesota. Tyler, you wear a few hats over there, so if you just want to introduce yourself, tell us what you do there, and update us with what's been going on at the Makerspace here recently.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys, for having me on. Long time, first time, friend of the cast, finally.
Hey.
Yeah.
I'm Tyler Vaughan over at the Mankato Makerspace. Like Jacob said, I wear a lot of hats over there. When I first moved to Mankato, it was 2017. I was really interested in woodworking, and I was kind of working out of my garage in this apartment that I rented. And I worked a lot with hand tools because that's all I had. So I came into some lumber that I found on an estate sale for really cheap, and I bought a lot of it, and it was kind of all rough, and I needed power tools basically to be able to work with it. And I was just kind of looking online to see if there was any place in town, and I found the Makerspace. And first time I went down there, I was like, I'm just going to go down there. There's this one tool that I need, and I have everything else I need in my garage, so I'm just going to go use that tool and then go home. And then I got there, and that was the beginning of the end. It was like this just incredible place that I immediately found, to be like my home shop. So
How long ago was that?
that was, it must have been the end of 2017. It was right after I moved here.
That's shortly after the Makerspace got started over there.
That's
too?
right. So the Makerspace, it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and it formed in 2015, the nonprofit, and it was kind of loosely tied to various places, but ultimately it opened up in the building we're in right now in 2017, which is down on 3rd Avenue. And so, yeah, it's a great place. Talk more about it as we get into the show. But as I just became more familiar with the people down there and got integrated into that community, and various personnel needs opened up at the space as people kind of moved in and out of the organization. I ended up stepping into a position of the woodshop lead down there. Eventually, board positions came open, and I stepped into the board of directors, and ultimately stepped into the role that I'm in now, which is the treasurer. So I do a lot of different things down there, mostly, finances related, woodshop safety related, member engagement type things. Shockingly, not as much woodworking as it used to be, as you might expect. But it's been really great down there to see that organization grow from where it was when I first stepped into it. And there's definitely a lot of exciting things coming up on the horizon for the space.
I was gonna say, should we get into some of that stuff right away? Just like some of the new opportunities and some of the grants that came in this year that kind of prompted this conversation.
Yeah, definitely. So over the last couple of years, we've been trying to expand our education programming. When the space initially opened, the idea was we just need a building where our kind of communal idea of pooling our resources and having a place for creativity available for the community had kind of like reached the ideal that it was supposed to be. And from the beginning, having space was part of it, having tools be there was part of it, but classes weren't necessarily the focus of the space at the beginning. But I think the community demand for education and for opportunities to learn new skills and to be able to come in and work independently on their own at the level that other people were doing was a goal. So we started offering classes down there that would be like, here's basic safety things that you need to know to be able to work in a metal shop or a wood shop, or here's some basic form of technique courses that you need to be able to throw on the wheel in ceramics or to sew. And so classes grew, and then ultimately our programming has exploded in the last couple of years. So not only are we offering like adult art community education, but we do all sorts of kids programming throughout the week. For instance, we have 2 schools in Mankato that don't have wood shops. Mankato West and Mankato East, they both have wood shops within the school building, but a couple others don't. So we contract with those schools to provide high school wood shop to students for schools in Mankato. And
they come to the Makerspace?
Yeah, so they'll bus the students down to the Makerspace once a week or twice a week, depending. And we have a couple different instructors that teach high school wood shop. So it's that's the type of programming that's been growing. We do some arts, kids art classes as well. That's grant funded through Prairie Lakes.
Wow.
And what they do is they provide us the ability to offer like low cost or no cost kids arts programming on Saturday mornings. And that's just been hugely popular. And it enables us to take a artist who's working in Mankato, who's producing, whatever it may be, collage or polymer clay, or their painter, and enabling them to share their passion with kids and still be able to be compensated for their time and that instruction. So it's just a big win-win for arts education in Mankato to have those grant opportunities. And we routinely apply for them.
Yeah.
Prairie Lakes.
What kind of age of children are we talking about here?
Like 6 to 12 usually for that program. It's called Artists of Tomorrow. It's on Saturday mornings. And it fills up like almost immediately. We'll release a month or two ahead of time. And I think there's either 4 or 6 of the seats in the class are totally free. So someone could just sign up. And then the other one is like $15 for a 2-hour kids arts experience. So
Sick.
altogether we can offer it for very low cost to the community.
Cool.
So Prairie Lakes runs that grant, and we apply for it every year. It's actually gotten to the point where they're just like, just copy and paste the application. We love this program. It's obviously showing huge benefit. So we want to continue to promote it. And then we routinely apply through the Minnesota State Arts Board for grant funding as well. And they'll run a couple of different grant opportunities. People in the art community are usually familiar with the individual artist grants, which are really popular, and they'll fund like anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 for an individual artist to work on a project. And we've known people that recorded albums or produced a body of work in terms of painting or photography using Minnesota State Arts Board individual artist grants, but they also do grants for organizations. And that's something we apply for every year, is like either an organizational support grant, which just pays for like the overhead of the space, that it enables us to be a little bit more strategic in how we use revenue. But this year they started a new pilot program, which is arts education. And I don't know how much they had set aside from the overall fund for grant distribution, but tons of arts education entities in Mankato actually were funded for arts education grants. And that's to provide community experiences for learning skills or learning technique or form in various art forms, just being able to get out there and enhance creativity and create opportunities for community members to engage in culture and making. So we wanted to apply for a grant that would enable us to do kind of what we're doing, but do it in a new way, right? And
reach a wider audience of people who maybe haven't been able to afford it before.
Yeah, definitely. So
what kind of classes seem the most popular with people? Like, what are people most excited to learn these days?
It's everything.
Yeah.
There's just such a huge variety of disciplines down at the Makerspace. It's one of the big strengths of it that I'll come back to later. But, we recently acquired a power hammer, which is something a blacksmith would use that would keep them from having to swing a hammer all day on an anvil. And, we have a metal shop, we have a forge for blacksmithing, we have this power hammer now, and it's right down the hall from a wood shop. So, a knife maker is in a really awesome position to come in and be able to work in one space and create really high quality work without having to, go to different places or acquire 2 different shops worth of tools to be able to shape handles or to forge blades or anything like that. So any kind of mixed media creator fits in so well in the space. And so, between metalwork and woodworking and ceramics, jewelry, sewing, technology, like they're all popular. Somebody's excited about all of those for sure.
Yeah.
And
even 3D printing, and you do some laser stuff. And Triple Falls is a media and event production company based in southern Minnesota. We specialize in multicam live streaming and sound and lighting for event productions. Contact us today to learn more, or subscribe online to join our newsletter and stay up to date about events and things going on in the area. Thanks for tuning in. Back to your show.
It's hard not to get inspired when you walk in there, honestly.
Sure.
I've done a lot of work kind of adjacent to it. Like, I've made some video in there. We've put some shows on, and you're not think you're like the third guest from the Makerspace that we've had on here. But, you know, I've basically found myself also just like shopping there a lot, like from people. I've taken like little projects that would take me like 100 hours to someone who can do it in like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Like I had you modify my mixer.
It's true.
Like there's just like lots of
At the
things that
Makerspace.
can be done. Yeah.
I have been personally super empowered by the screen printing shop there. It's allowed me to make money off of projects by printing merch at very low cost. So that's been super empowering to me personally as an artist.
Yeah, it's fun to see the Makerspace sometimes act as a hub for the integration of these different artist communities. And I think that was one of the ways that I got ultimately tied in with the music community down here was, you know, bands will come down and print shirts. And I've seen, you know, Jason Knutson's art walk through the door as a file and go out the door as a t-shirt more times than I can count, you know.
We've done that personally 3 times.
Yeah. So it's like, it's a really great hub for, you know, those different communities to come together and to share in their passion for making in different forms.
Yeah.
You know, and to have you guys be a part of event production down there and, you know, have you be down there as a member and just see that intertwining of these communities has been really enriching. So the Arts Ed grant, the goal is going to be to expand the reach of that community. And so our arts education grant that we won this year, it feels really good to announce it, is a $35,000 arts education grant that will enable us to offer a pay what you can afford program. And so all of our classes, every single one really, except for the kids class, has a tuition associated with it so that the instructor for the course can be compensated for their time, which is something that's really important to us. Short of having grant funding to pay a salaried person to offer those programs, then they're typically tuition based. But this is maybe a move in the direction of acquiring grant funding routinely so that some of the financial burden of the tuition costs can be offset. So what we'll do is, starting in March, probably we'll roll out an initial test of this program where people who go to our website, mankatomakerspace.org, and enroll in classes that are focused on basic safety, that are focused on introductory form or technique, or simple kind of make and take classes, will have the ability to elect for a discount. And this model has been attempted in other places. I remember reading about it as we were doing some planning, and I think out in Oregon they opened a Panera Bread that was based on a pay what you can afford model. So you would walk in and there would be no prices, and the person at the register would say, "What would you like?" And everybody's like, "Well, I'll have whatever, mac and cheese." And when it comes time to pay, they're like, "How much is it?" And they're like, "Well, it's however much you can afford." And they're like, "Well, how much is it?" And I don't think it worked very well for them, but I think it's going to work great for us because it's not food and it's not a product that people are used to walking in and saying like, "Okay, yeah, I pay you for this," right? So the model will give them the choice to say like, "Okay, well, this is a class that I really want to take and I'm interested in being a member at the Makerspace, but by the time I total up my membership dues and the 1 or 2 classes that I want to take, that's going to put me on a path to being able to create for my own enrichment or to monetize a product that I'm interested in is going to be $150, $200. And it's just not in the cards right now. And, you know, we've had some of the people who have been the most productive around the Makerspace. They fit into this mold of saying, I have the creative juice, but I don't have the dosh right now. So what we want to do is say like, look, it's time to capitalize, sometimes literally, sometimes figuratively, on this energy that you have and this passion that you have for creating, and enable you to make use of the space for your own pursuits. So the discount is basically something that the person elects when they will go to our website. They pick the class, $50 woodshop safety class maybe, and say, I got $5 for this, and that's what they pay. So it's going to, what the grant fund will actually do is slip in there and fill in the rest for the instructor. And based on how we've been doing over the last couple of years, we should be able to provide that to a pretty significant number of people every month for about 10 months.
Wow.
And if it's successful in this initial phase, then we're definitely going to be looking to go out there, find more grants that are like this to subsidize that tuition and then grow the reach of instruction at the Makerspace. So
Heck yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen this happen a lot, but can you think of like a situation recently maybe where someone's like taken a class or learned something and at the Makerspace and just like gone off and done a bunch of their the new project? Or
one that I see pretty frequently now is we have a discipline called lapidary, and lapidary is working with stones, cutting and shaping stones, polishing them. It integrates really well with jewelry at times for jewelers who are looking for stones for setting into a piece.
Caleb will put them in his handles for his knives. That's really sick.
And Caleb Stoner, who's just one of the most creative people down there, a visionary really, is the person who leads that area of the shop. And people get really excited about it. I feel like there's a certain kind of person, them, the rock person.
Yeah.
So they're kind of predisposed to it already, but they're out prospecting. They're finding rocks out in nature. A buddy of mine, I walked past him on the way over here. He's like, I was just out in California, and there were all these really cool stones that were washed up on the beach, and I brought probably like 100 pounds of rocks back because I'm real excited about these rocks, and I want to get down there and make them into something more refined perhaps, or highlight the natural beauty of the stone and just use it in whatever way. So
how does it work? Can you, like, I'm imagining, is it like a water stone cutting?
So there's a couple of tools. The one that everybody gets excited about is the slab cutter, and if you've ever seen like those rock bookends, it's just like a big rock that's been cut in half, right? It's the kind of tool that does that. And so everybody gets real excited because they think of the prospect of opening up like a geode and seeing that really beautiful crystal. And so the rock saw is a big one. That's like the heavy lifter for rock cutting.
It does spray water on there too, but it's like an actual saw blade, but it like sprays water on it too.
Yeah, it's like a big circular saw blade that's got diamond teeth, so it'll cut through rock, but it goes real slow. And I think it's mineral spirits or mineral or whatever it is, but some kind of a coolant.
Interesting.
And then a lot of diamond lapping plates that just rotate. They're flat plates that are coated in like diamond dust, carats worth of diamond dust. And that diamond is really hard, so it'll grind down and polish up the surface. And you'll see, it's cool. There's like it's almost like an evolutionary process in a tray on Caleb's desk. It's like, here's the rock, here's the slab that got cut out, here's me drawing the shape of the stone, with a Sharpie. And then the next step is actually the rough cutout of that. And then you get to the point where you're faceting the stone, where you're giving it all these interesting details and different angled surfaces. And then finally to polishing and bringing out all that natural beauty in the product. And it's just cool to see that in every discipline, actually, or you see, the natural beauty of a wood grain come to light, or stone, ceramic. We have people who've just prospected clay bodies out of Blue Earth County and produced ceramic products where everything in that product was made from material that we got from the earth here in Blue Earth County. So
sick.
It's real exciting.
Could we talk just for a second about the various markets, which is like another super empowering things you do both for like your members and local makers? Yeah,
definitely. The markets are 4 times a year. Usually we run them we just set the dates actually. May, August, November, December. And there are opportunities for vendors to come and set up and vend in the shop. So it's great for the Makerspace. It brings a lot of traffic to the Makerspace. And I don't know, maybe half of the people who come to the markets are like, I've never been here before. This is cool. What's this place about? And so it's good exposure for the Makerspace, but it's an opportunity for people to reach their audience that they're trying to sell to. And the holiday markets go really, really well. They're super busy.
Yeah. I get something literally every year for someone, and it's just so cool to get like a one-of-one from a local maker for someone.
Well, and I mean, I could probably say with confidence 60% of the people that routinely vend with us they're friends of the cast. They're part of our community. But the cool thing about it is if you're a member at the Makerspace, your vending fee is waived.
Oh,
and
cool.
So, it's typical for a vending opportunity to have a booth fee. It ranges in price. I've seen booth fees that are, free at some events up to $250.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was up at Minnesota Original Music Fest or like Rock Bend, but there's booth fees associated with being able to set up and sell there. So ours is $40. And so somebody that wants to come in and sell, especially in November and December, they're like, yeah, I'm going to pay that $40 because I'm going to be able to do really well that day.
Shop.
And our members, they get the special perk of their membership dues covering their vending fees, which
nice.
And the membership due is $50 a month, which the more I think about it, it's like, that's a really good rate, especially if you're productive, you know.
Yeah. $10 more and you get a membership, and then now you could like use some of our resources and get that $40 fee waived.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that, like, thinking about that, like, kind of sliding cost member fee, like it actually really, that money really comes around practically to the people who would need it anyways, when you think about it for a second, because they can sell their wares or just, you know, like fix whatever they're needing to do, like around their home. Like, I know you make like handles for your kitchen and stuff.
Yeah, we replaced all the kitchen cabinet handles.
Like that stuff, the amount of money you could even just spend on, you know, outfitting your kitchen with some cabinetry, you could just find yourself back in that position so quickly.
Yeah.
So it really does seem to be the kind of thing that has the power to, you know, put that money back in the community, not just once towards the person who's doing the class, but towards the person who's taking it too.
Yeah, totally. And what you're talking about just speaks to the variety of different things that people could do down there. Like, you know, you have homeowners that they're just interested in being able to be self-sufficient, not be so reliant on, you know, spending money to solve a problem around their home, but being able to have the skills and expertise and the access to tools that they need to be able to do improvements that they want to make. And then you have all the way down to people, their literal only pursuit is to draw for their own personal enrichment. And so there's just this incredible range of the types of people who come down to use the space and how they use it and how they can be inspired or inspire somebody else.
Yeah, I'm sure you could actually just save money if you're a person who makes enough stuff and gets frustrated and goes to Harbor Freight and buys like a garbage tool because you just needed like the one thing.
Yeah, I know. I've been in that position too. I used to live by a factory outlet when I was down in Texas, and there was this one brand of tools that they had a store where they sold all the reconditioned stuff.
Cool.
And it was great when I lived down there because, you know, there was no makerspace close to where I was. The closest one was in Dallas at the time. And the one in Dallas is actually really cool. It's huge. But I would just buy all these reconditioned tools that were just like slightly janky, you know, like, you know, something that's supposed to go perfectly straight. Now it's just got a little bit of a tilt to it, and like trying to compensate for it. But yeah, I mean, I spent money on tools that were not a good investment, and then I fought with them, and I didn't end up getting the end result that I wanted. And now I think about the things that I'm able to make at the Makerspace are far and away exceeding the quality of things that I used to make, just because we've taken the time to go down there and say, what's the tool that somebody's going to need when they go to do this task, and let's get it, because it's not just them that's going to need it. It's 50 other people this year, 60 other people this year that are going to use this, and it's going to end up producing such a better result. So I think it's just that communal ideal that a tool shouldn't sit in somebody's garage for 360 days a year. It should be used. Yeah. And if we cooperate, which is the entire model of the Makerspace, we can, for much lower cost, create a space that's accessible to everybody and beneficial for the community financially too.
Yeah, especially for like a younger person who doesn't have a garage or a workshop or anything like that. It's like, it's the same way like having a studio outside your house makes it so you can live in a much smaller house and not worry about it and things like that. What were you going to say, Jake?
I was going to say, what you earlier in the interview you mentioned that you started out there going for a wood shop, but not so much anymore. What kind of projects have you been taking on at the Makerspace recently?
All sorts of things. So the grants that we apply for, we're eligible for certain amounts of money, basically. So this year, based on the amount of revenue that we brought in, the size of our nonprofit, we were eligible for up to $35,000. And I just read in the Free Press maybe yesterday that the Children's Museum down there just off Riverfront, they have an annual revenue of 1.1 million. And so they're probably eligible for, I don't know, $100, $200, $250,000 grants. And then you just see what that enables them to do, right? And the impact that they have. The paper said that they have an impact of 5.5 million in a year, the Children's Museum, which is incredible. Awesome. And so the goal, I guess, for the Makerspace is to be able to grow to the point where we can say, like, yeah, the Makerspace is having an enormous impact. Like, that's our overall mission, is to increase access to creativity, but also make people more employable, perhaps with skills that they learn there, to help them improve the value of their homes, perhaps. All of these different things that will require us to grow as well. So part of the Pay What You Can program is to expand what we're already doing down there, which is to make pathways to membership for people. And then literally to expand the Makerspace. And so one of the big things that's kind of drawn my attention away from woodworking projects is developing some planning for fundraising to double the square footage of the Makerspace. So currently we're in one wing of a warehouse building on 3rd Avenue, 1700 3rd Avenue. It's the Goodrich Construction Building. And Goodrich Construction has the far third that's nearest the railroad tracks, and we have the third that's opposite. And there's one little warehouse situated tantalizingly right between us that's just storage for a company. I don't know what company it is. And it's basically identical to the one we have. It's long and rectangular, and it's empty right now except for the things that are being stored in it. And we find ourselves spending maybe like 25 to 30% of our time moving stuff around in the Makerspace so we can use the things that are there now. It's like getting to the point where it's like critical mass almost. Yeah. We have a mezzanine with storage that's just it's a disaster right now, because it's just years of accumulation of investment in tools, investment in materials, and so many people are doing so many different things that it's like we're running out of elbow room. Yeah. So the other issue is, a lot of what goes on down there is pretty messy. Like, we spent most of Sunday, we scrubbed down the screen printing press. So you know how it's covered with lint and grime, and we just spent most of Saturday getting it all polished up. So next time you're in there, you'll see. But wood dust is going everywhere. Sparks, metal shavings, ceramic dust is everywhere. It's making us dirty. Like, you guys know this too. And then we have 3D printers, like, just delicately placed in a room that we say is like our clean space. So we badly need a delineation between, clean space and, making space for woodworking and ceramics and these other art forms that are messier. So the goal is to create a divide. So we have 6,000 square feet on one side of the big wall where it's primarily clean space. And we'll be moving, hopefully, our technology over there, which is 3D printers and laser engravers, and hopefully we're moving in the direction which is really popular in makerspaces to have a larger tech presence too. And other disciplines like textiles and leatherworking and sewing and weaving will move over there as well as screen printing. So those disciplines can now be in a space that's much more insulated from some of the mess that gets created on the dirty side. So we're subtracting some spaces, some shops, and moving them over, and that'll enable the shops that are in our current space to grow as well. And then we currently have one classroom space, which is our clean space. So if we have the need for a class to be in a quiet room, there's only one room available. And we do a lot of instruction in the rest of the space, like our woodshop classes. They take place in the woodshop. We're using the tools. We're talking about safety. We're building projects. And same goes for metal and ceramics and any of these other disciplines. But like our kids' classes and some of our high school education programming, they might be working in the middle of the shop, and you got dust collectors going and the welders going. And it's like, you have a sore throat when you leave because you're trying to shout to do this instruction. So we really need more space for that type of instruction, and that's part of the plan over there. So expanding the clean space and creating more rooms for instruction is a big target. It's going to be a big financial commitment not only the startup, but then the recurring costs of operating what would now be 12,000 square feet of warehouse space.
Yeah.
And so the big project is conceiving of the expansion, designing the expansion in such a way that it creates new opportunities, but also creates new revenue for the makerspace. And the last thing that'll be in there that's so important on that front is studios. So the owner of the building, we were talking to him a couple of months ago. He's like, guys, we're gonna have to replace the roof on this building sometime, and it's gonna be a big job. But I have 2 skylights that I want to put in the roof when we replace the roof, and so it's like the light shining down.
Yeah.
The idea of having a studio in a maker space where there's natural light just sounds so excellent.
Yeah.
And so at least 4 studios that are going to be maybe 10 foot by 12 foot or 10 foot by 15 foot. So pretty good amount of space will be a part of that expansion, and access to the studio space and access to the maker space, the actual shops there, would be a big part of the new revenue generation of the expansion.
Yeah.
And we've been doing our homework, looking around. A handful of maker spaces offer private studio space as well. There's one in Chicago that does, Dallas does, and whenever any of us travel, we try to go find the maker spaces in the towns we're in and learn what we can from them. We've actually been fielding a lot of inquiries from other maker spaces that are getting started too. Like,
sick.
How do you guys do what you do? How do you get started? And so our board president, Cindy, fields a lot of those inquiries. That's a lot of work too, but
shout out Cindy. She's awesome.
She's the best. Yeah, Cindy's great. She's recovering from a car accident, so we love Cindy. Hope she has a speedy recovery.
Mad love from the TF cast.
Yeah, so expansion, that's the big project.
Yeah.
And so fundraising is gonna be a big thing that we focus on the next 6 to 8 months. Hopefully getting that expansion.
What can people expect in terms of changes or updates, or how, timeline, how they can get involved? You said fundraising, so are they going to start to see some opportunities maybe popping up for that?
Yep, definitely. We are celebrating our 7th birthday on February 24th. It's going to be, it's something we do every year just to bring our community together in the dead of winter. And we have musicians that come and play, and usually we do food. And that is an opportunity for people to come and make a donation to the space. And donations make up, I don't know, maybe like 20% of our annual budget. So it's a big part, and we're going to need it to grow as we move towards that fundraising target for expansion. So that would be one thing. And any donation is significant. It makes a significant impact. So if you come to our birthday party and you make a contribution to get in the door, or you make a contribution to get some food, or drop a couple dollars in a donation bin, it helps us move towards our mission. And so that would be one of the opportunities. Another opportunity is just to come down and find out what the space is about and take a class. The Makerspace tuition primarily goes to pay the instructor, but there's some sharing between the Makerspace and the instructor. So those dollars go towards our kind of strategic aims as well. So getting involved in the Makerspace, making a small, large contribution is, something that we really appreciate, and that pushes us towards that expansion goal. We had some really hefty donations last year, which helped immensely. But our fundraising target's probably going to be somewhere in the $200,000 to $250,000 range to take over the space, build it out, and then have that cash on hand as we scale up revenue into being able to pay for it through the ordinary means. But we need our membership to grow. We want our maker community to get bigger. We want people to be involved and to be able to pursue their creative passions. And maybe coming down to the Makerspace will show them that can be a home for them to do it.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that you can go down there any day. You don't have to
Except Monday.
Except Monday? Yeah, any day they're... Sorry, that's what I should have said. Any day they're open, just go down there. There's always cool people there. I mean, your board is awesome. Everyone's so friendly. Yeah. And it's always worth just going down and saying hi, checking it out, asking some questions. And another thing to say on your music, too, I've rarely seen a band play twice at these Makerspace parties. You guys are always getting
That's true.
new acts and also lots of young acts. Like I'm pretty sure the last shows, a lot of some of those bands, it was their first time even having like monitor rigs and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
it's
fun.
really exciting that you guys provide that. And I mean, me and Tyler are the one mixing a lot of those shows, so we get to work with all these new bands all the time.
It's been fun to push the production value of those shows every time too, to just say like, what can we do to make this experience better? And honestly, like my fantasy for the expansion is that there's dedicated venue there too.
That'd be so sick.
You know, the way that the Makerspace is set up now is there's this like long aisle down the center that's maybe like 10 feet wide, and so it's kind of like being in the What's Up Lounge, like this long narrow. But if we move over to the clean side, that would be a space where we'd have the ability to open up a little bit more, and create a little bit more of a hospitable, like
and more like front of stage space.
Yeah,
that's like the main thing. That'd be sick.
Not throwing into a wall.
Yeah, or having to. I remember at the Pierre show having to guard the bar because people were running into it and it was almost tipping over on Liberty.
I mean, I do think that given the way things are in Mankato right now, that the best chance for us to have a venue in the next like 1 or 2 years is probably unless something changes, is for a nonprofit to take it over.
Yeah.
We have some small spaces coming, but nothing like large.
Yeah, it'd be so like 5-10 years. What I hope to see the Makerspace become is like, you know, it has its core. Like our core is ceramics, it's painting, it's metalwork, it's furniture building, it's kind of all these things that people have come to learn that the Makerspace is. But I think in terms of a broader like community art and creativity mission, it can be so much more. And you know, the model that we see at the Makerspace of having the right tool for the job for woodworking or having the right tool for the job for sewing, gosh, wouldn't that translate just so nicely to recording?
Yeah.
Like if there was a Makerspace for musicians where it was a community production studio, because we have so many people that we know that are crazy talented songwriters or musicians, and recording is arguably more expensive than making in the arts.
Yeah.
And so I think that model of like, okay, yeah, there's like 558s in a drawer somewhere that are going to get used for an hour when we do a gig. What if they weren't? What if they were used by all sorts of people? So I think that a space like that was maybe even an extension of the Makerspace is something that's possible in 5 years. And if that's going to exist, then surely there'll be venue space there.
Yeah. My studio is the single most empowering thing, I think. Like if a musician was going to ask me like what my advice, I'd probably say get on stage and get like a actual space to play that you're playing in.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think the studio, you know, like your experience with the studio is probably pretty similar to people's experience with the Makerspace who are like making in that capacity.
Yeah, and like the feeling of when everyone around you is making, just empowering you to want to do the same. Yeah. And I love the Makerspace. I'm there so much that I'm there even just to say hi because so many cool heckin' people work there.
Well, we're fortunate to have it in the area. I know. I remember hearing about it when it was launched long ago, and I've been a member for a while now and kept up with it. Yeah. Just really awesome to have things like that in the area, and super cool to hear that it's on its path towards bigger and better things too.
Definitely.
Very exciting.
Yeah, the other satellite, like a music satellite would be cool, but the other satellite, I just invented it, would be the Bakerspace. And a handful of our regular market vendors, they sell baked goods.
Yeah.
And
a couple industrial ovens and some
can you imagine
mixing equipment.
If you were trying to sell like commercially using your home kitchen with your like 12 muffin tin thing, that if you had a commercial oven and a commercial mixer that you could make 100 cupcakes at a time instead of 12, like it's the same idea. And so many different creative pursuits benefit from this cooperative model where working together produces opportunities that wouldn't otherwise be available. And I have an idea of where that would go. And there's a project out in Colorado too that melds well with this idea of like being community centric and being community development, which is called Comal Food. And not only are they like an industrial kitchen, but they like primarily focus on developing entrepreneurial skill in Indigenous women and getting them the skills that they need, not only in cooking but in entrepreneurship to be able to make a living and be their own boss.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so something like that, I think, is a really promising possibility here that focuses on, food as a creative output, but also food as a way of like enriching our community and having a cooperative space.
And the classes for just learning how to bake and cook would be so fun.
Yep. And I think that's in the old Union Market eventually.
Ooh.
It's got that nice big glass front. And it's just so accessible to the community in that way.
Wow.
So that's like 2030, I think, in my mind is, we get to the point where we could do that. And again, just growing the scope of membership in the Makerspace and growing the scope of what the Makerspace does for the community enables us to just grow at a more rapid pace as well.
Yeah.
Expand our impact.
Cool. Anything else we got to let the people know about?
No, just want to say so grateful to all the people who've come to our events in the last year, made donations, came to our markets, and purchased money from our makers. Definitely want to shout out again the 24th of February being the Makerspace 7th birthday party, which is sponsored by KMSU. We've got two groups that are playing, the St. Paul Mudsteppers and Brothers Burn Mountain.
Cool.
Should be a really fun show. It sounds like we're going to do a variety of chilies for food. So chicken chili, whatever.
All right.
Yeah. I'll be there mixing.
Yeah, we're going to have that event. And what else? Come take a class. Take advantage of the Pay What You Can program. It's going to be rolling out in March. We'll have some more details coming out about that and how it's implemented. But definitely it's going to be something that's going to increase access and reduce those financial barriers. So if you're thinking, I've been wanting to get into creating or making, or I want to go learn what the space is about, this is the perfect time to do it.
And if someone was looking for that information, where might they go?
You can find us online at mankatomakerspace.org. We're also on social media. We have a classes page on our website. It's right on our top of our menu bar is one of the first options to click. And that'll take you to our schedule. It'll show you all of the different class options that we have and which of those classes will be eligible on this Pay What You Can Afford model program. And if anybody has any questions, they can always reach out to us at mankatomakerspace@gmail.com too.
Heck yeah. Well, shout out to you, man. We gotten to work a lot together in so many capacities in the last year.
Yeah.
And got your hands in so many things. It's awesome to see.
We're grateful to have you guys contribute to the Makerspace, and we're all mostly in this idea of working cooperatively, and appreciate you highlighting the space with. I think you guys interviewed Dustin. You guys interviewed Abby Dickhoot. Shelly Caldwell's been on the show. She's always vending down at the Makerspace, and
Caleb was on last.
Caleb was on.
Yeah.
Just so many really creative and inspiring people that it's great to be around all of you and them too.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks. Support your local makerspace.